Hello, my name is Moises Balaila, and this is my final project. Um, I want to talk about my last semester and everything this class has meant to me, and everything I've learned uh, regarding life experiences and regarding communication. And so I learned this semester that I have to be more open about differences. I know that sometimes I can be harsh, and sometimes uh, I used to criticize a lot of people just because they think differently than I do, or they act in ways that I'm not used to. But I've been more open this semester, and I've learned so much from many kinds of different people, and I'm so glad about that. Uh, I also learned that I have to be able to express myself without shame or doubt. I cannot be afraid of showing the world who I am and who I want to be and the things I want to do and the things that I think. And I think that that is an important key for success and happiness. And it is one of the most important tools of communications. I want to understand that every relationship is different, and I know I have to learn how to translate that into real life and how to say that every person in my life has a different role and that I cannot expect to treat each relationship the same way. I know that there are some things that I can do with some friends that I cannot do with other friends, or some things that I could do in a romantic relationship that I cannot do with friends, or things that I could do with friends that I couldn't do with family members. Um, I also need to understand more about body language and what it means. I know that many people express their emotions and their thoughts through their body, and that is really important and really interesting. And sometimes even my eye will be showing things and emotion that I don't even know that I'm having, and other people can perceive those through my body language, and that is really interesting. And I know that I have to learn how to recognize that each each situation is different, and I have to identify each situation for what it is, and I have to act accordingly. So it's not the same thing if I skip a class that if I skip a day at work. Having that communication, engaging that communication with my teacher or with my boss is completely different, and I have to be able to recognize that, and I've learned to do that through this semester. Um, so about concepts and strategies, I loved how we began our class talking about face-to-face communications and the importance it has, especially for me that I live far from home and I am separated from most of my best friends and family members. So uh, I really miss what it means to have face-to-face communication with them, and the few chances that I get, I really take advantage of it. I do feel that it's the most important part of like way of communicating. I learned that perception checking is really important. Sometimes we have to ask what's going on, and in order to understand what is happening. In one of my pre-exam analysis, I talked about a situation I had with my sister in which she was not happy with the way we as a family handle her relationship with her boyfriend. And now I learned that I didn't do any good for her, and I actually made her feel really bad, and it was only because I didn't know what I was doing, and because I didn't ask. uh, One of the most important subjects and most interesting ones was meta communications, and the reality of talking about conversations, and that is really fascinating how we can engage in something so deep and profound like that. I gave an example about a friend that doesn't understand sarcasm, so every time I have to explain to him what sarcasm means, and that that even led to a fight between us. So it is important to be able to also communicate about what our communication is trying to do. Um, Non-verbal communication is really interesting, and there are multiple aspects of it. There's body movement, which we briefly talked about, and there's touch and distance, and all of those things mean. I learned that sometimes if you hug someone, you can share so many things only through that hug, or what it means to give somebody space and distance, or what it means to have distance when we are communicating and we were talking to each other. Uh, what the distance means in a conversation, what it means to talk with someone that is next to you or in front of you, or what happens if you're on a stage or giving a class, all of those differences. I learned that we should strategize. It's always important to ask for someone's help when we need it, and sometimes we can be really prideful and we forget that we are all human beings and everyone makes mistakes and everyone goes through the things that we're going through in different ways, but they do. So sometimes asking for help and asking for advice is the best way to move forward, and we shouldn't be ashamed of that. Building empathy is really important. Uh, I went to Camp Boggy Creek and I volunteered there, and it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And I learned to step into other people's shoes and understand what it means to have a disability. Although I didn't do it, I don't have those disabilities myself. I could learn and see and talk to other people about what their experiences have been like. Um, the influence of culture on emotional expression has been really important for me, because being Jewish and Venezuelan has shaped the ways in which I communicate. They shape my values and my ideas and my thought process. So that is really important in my communication. And also, gender has affected intimacy in many ways, because sometimes we don't even notice it, but sometimes male the male population is afraid to talk about sensitive subjects or to be honest about sexuality and what they feel and what they would like to do. But I think that that is important to do that, especially in this day and age. And we, in collaboration, was one of the most amazing subjects, because I learned that we have to do everything to get a win-win. I shouldn't be selfish, or I shouldn't let the other person be selfish in our relationship. There's always a way in which we can accommodate a win-win. Thank you for this class. Goodbye.